Hey everyone, Jake here for American Muscle, and in this video we're taking a look at the PowerStop Z26 Street Warrior front and rear brake rotor, pad, and caliper kit, fitting various different models and trims of 2012 to 2020 Challengers. Now before we dive in here, I want to take a moment to acknowledge that this kit does have a bit of a complicated fitment. There's a bunch of different trims that it fits, so make sure you double check it on the website before you hit that buy button, just to make sure that it's going to fit your particular Challenger. Brakes are some of the most important components of your vehicle and one that can often go overlooked. And if you want the ultimate braking upgrade that's straightable, affordable, and all-inclusive, PowerStop has got you covered with this kit right here. The Z26 Street Warrior brake kit is an all-inclusive high-performance kit that is designed to refresh and upgrade your braking system and to provide you with improved stopping power, all at an affordable price point. This is a great setup for a daily driven car that also sees some spirited driving. Now, I always like to say this, but there are a few places on my own vehicles where I make doubly sure to spend my money and get the good stuff, and brakes are one of those places. Now, I personally run PowerStops on a couple of different vehicles now, and they are seriously impressive, especially as compared to stock brakes. And such is the case with this kit. So let's start with the most obvious difference from your stock brakes, and that's going to be the rotors. Now, these are, of course, the drilled and slotted variety. So despite being the same diameter as your stock brakes, these are going to be much better at dissipating heat than your stock solid rotors. And keeping heat out of brakes is important. There's nothing scarier than cresting a hill only to feel the pedal go all squishy. And that's exactly where these excel. So these channels and the holes that are drilled into the faces of the rotor are going to help get heat away from the rotor and away from the pads itself. The channels here are going to dissipate everything out this way, while the holes are going to vent everything through the central vents here. That's also going to help keep moisture and debris off of your rotors as well, making sure that you have the ultimate amount of clamping force as soon as you hit the brakes, even if you're driving in a torrential downpour. Now, of course, your braking system is only going to be as good as your pads though. And in this kit, you get a set of PowerStop's Z26 pads. Now, these are made using a proprietary carbon fiber ceramic compound, and that's going to provide you with excellent bite and stopping power, something that's appropriate for a street-driven muscle car. Now, like the rotors, these pads are going to be excellent at dissipating heat while maintaining everyday drivability. As you can see, they feature chamfered edges here, and they are thermal scorched for a faster break-in. You also get stainless steel shims on the back to help keep noise at bay. Lots of uprated brake pads out on the market can lead to a compromise when it comes to regular use, such as when you're just tootling around town with the family in tow. Sometimes that might be in braking feel, but it also might be in noise. The initial bite may come on a bit later than it did with your stock brakes. They might make some more noise, or they just produce a ton of brake dust despite really good clamping power. However, that's not the case with these. There is virtually no compromise in brake performance or feel, and in fact, PowerStop claims that these are nearly dust-free. Now, let's be honest, no brake pad is going to be entirely dust-free due to the nature of how they work, but these are a super low dust formula that's going to keep your wheels a lot cleaner, which is especially great if you've got some nice aftermarket wheels on your car, or if you're just like me and you can't stand cleaning your wheels. Now, of course, we also have to talk about the other thing you get in this kit, and that is a brand new set of calipers. They've got this really nice bright red powder coat finish to give you a little pop of color from the wheel well. Now, these are going to be virtually identical to your stock ones. These are going to be dual piston floating calipers in the front and single piston floating calipers in the rear, again, just like your original calipers. Now, these aren't any larger than your stock units, but since they are brand new, they're going to give you that peace of mind that you've got all new brake hardware, all new seals and everything, so you know that before you hit the road, you're going to be able to stop quickly and safely. Now, the rotors are made using G3000 metallurgy, so this has a higher percentage of carbon in the metal itself, and like the veins and holes in the faces, this composition is extremely helpful in dissipating heat. These are your typical cast iron type of rotors, but they also have a silver zinc electroplating, which is what makes them look nice and shiny here on the table. That's also going to help prevent against rust and corrosion, so these should look good and they should perform well for a long time. Those pads, again, like we were talking about a few moments ago, use PowerStop's own carbon fiber ceramic compound. It is again designed for excellent heat dissipation, consistent performance, and feel with low dust. And those calipers come pre-assembled just as you see them right here, with all the hardware you need, including some new boots and gaiters, so these are ready to bolt right on. Now, PowerStop also includes all new premium stainless steel hardware. You get everything you need. Basically, short of brake lines and brake fluid, this is going to be everything you need for a complete braking system overhaul. And it's really high quality, good stuff as well. Now, of course, that means it doesn't come cheap. Pricing for this kit is going to run you around $1,200, which is not a drop in the bucket. However, again, good brakes rarely come cheap. And despite this kit not carrying an insignificant price tag, it is about the least expensive full brake kit on the market for these Challengers. It's also especially impressive considering that you're getting the upgraded pads and rotors in addition to brand new calipers here. So this is not a place you really want to skimp if your car sees a lot of usage, if you live in a mountainy area or something like that. It is worth reiterating here that there's a lot of good science and technology baked into the rotors and pads, and it comes with everything you need to get this job done and vastly improve the braking performance of your car. And again, I'll throw in a little personal recommendation here by saying that I have experienced power stops on my own vehicles. I've got a set on my truck right now, and I can tell you firsthand that it is definitely a worthwhile upgrade if you've got the room in your budget. Installation is going to come in at a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and installing this kit is definitely a job you can accomplish at home. Expect the job to take you around 3 hours or so to complete. Now, while this is a totally bolt-on system that doesn't require you to make any modifications to your car, it is worth noting that you are going to need to do a full bleed of the brake system, since you've got to open the lines in order to get these new calipers fitted. Now, while that may sound intimidating, it's really not a difficult job, it's just a time-consuming one, but it is also going to require either a brake bleeder tool or another person there to help you out with it. But fret not, we're going to show you how to get this whole thing done right now, so with that, let's head on over to the install bay.
Tools required for this install include an impact gun, a ratchet, 10 and 18 millimeter wrenches, hose clamps, a caliper hook, an extension, a 10, 15, 18, and 21 millimeter swivel socket, 13 and 15 millimeter sockets, brake clean, and some clean microfiber towels.
What's up, guys? Today we're installing some brakes on our Challenger. First, we're gonna watch a quick uninstall video showing you how to remove your factory brake components, and then we'll meet you right back here for the install.
All right, guys, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna remove our brake line bracket using our 10 millimeter swivel socket. So that way later in the uninstall, we can have access with a socket to the caliper cage bolts. So let's get started. All right, so now we're gonna remove this bolt here with our 10 millimeter swivel socket. Now we can take this and push it out of the way. Now we're gonna remove our caliper bolts. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna just loosen up our banjo bolt that holds on our brake line, just so later it'll make that a little bit easier for us. Now we're gonna remove the caliper bolts. So we're gonna take an 18 millimeter wrench and hold the inside, and we'll take our 13 millimeter socket to remove our bolts. Move up to the top one. Now from here, you're going to want to make sure that you have a rag on the floor because there is going to be brake fluid that comes out. Like so. Just going to tuck that off to the side. Make sure you've located both of the copper bolts that are holding this in place because that is what is going to seal the caliper shut. So now from here, we can pull off our caliper. All right, so now that we have our caliper off, we're gonna remove our 2 cage bolts. So I'm gonna use an impact with a swivel socket and a 20 millimeter socket. We're gonna remove these 2 bolts here. Just lift up there, and now we can remove our rotor by sliding that out through the studs. If you do have trouble getting your rotor off of the hub, you could use either a piece of wood and a hammer, or a hammer to hit on the face on the outsides of the rotor. So moving on to the rear uninstall, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna crack the bolt for the brake lines, and then we're gonna remove the 2 bolts that hold on our caliper. First step, we're gonna take a 13 millimeter socket and we're just gonna crack this bolt loose so it's easier to uninstall once we have the caliper bolts off. Crack it like that. Now I'm gonna swap sockets to a 15 millimeter socket, and we're gonna use an 18 millimeter wrench to hold the bolt in place. Now we're gonna remove these 2 bolts. Now once our bolts are removed, we can peel this off of our caliper cage. Then we're gonna twist off this bolt that we already loosened. Make sure that you have a rag on the ground because there will be brake fluid that'll come out. Now for our 2 cage bolts, I'm gonna use an 18mm socket with a swivel socket to remove these 2 bolts. Now for our top bolt, make sure you hold your cage because it will fall. Remove that from our rotor. All right, so the last step is removing the rotor. An important note, if you have a manual Challenger, make sure to release your e-brake. But if you don't and your rotor is seized, I would screw the lug nut on a couple threads and use a hammer and piece of wood and hit it from the back and it should bust free. So now I'm just gonna remove the rotor from the studs. And now your uninstall is complete.
So now we're ready to get our pads into our caliper. So I'm going to take a 13mm socket to remove one of our bolts holding the clamshell on so that we can swing this open and get our hardware and our pads installed. So now I'll take that 13mm socket, loosen up one of our bolts, and we can open up our caliper. We'll get our hardware, slide that into place. And then I'm going to grab the included brake lube. Now I'm going to be lubing up all of our metal on metal contact points. Get right along the edge here. And then we can slide our pads into our caliper. And once you have your pads in place, you can close up your caliper. Reinstall that bolt. And then tighten it back down. And I will fully tighten these 2 bolts down using an 18mm wrench to hold the nut and 13mm socket. And then you can do that same thing for your other caliper and we'll get these on the car. So now we're ready to install our new caliper. So I'm just gonna slide that over the rotor, get it in between our pads. And then we can line up and thread in our 2 caliper mounting bolts. And now we can grab our 21mm socket and tighten down our bolts. Next we can connect our brake line. Now we're going to be reusing our factory banjo bolt, however we do have new crush washers. So I'm going to put a crush washer on. We'll put that through the fitting, and then we'll get our other crush washer on the other side. And then we'll pull out this plastic cap. And then we can thread our bolt into place. And I'll grab my 13mm socket and tighten this down. And now we're going to tighten this down until that copper washer starts to crush to make our seal. And once you have that all tightened down, you can remove your hose clamp. And now lastly, we can reinstall that bolt to hold our brake line bracket in place. And then we'll tighten that down with a 10mm socket. And then you can repeat that whole process on the other side. So now we're ready to assemble our rear calipers. So we're gonna open up this clamshell and get our brackets and our pads installed into our caliper. So now I'm gonna start off by taking a 15mm socket and 18mm wrench to remove one of these bolts. And then we can open this up and we'll install our brackets. And then we're going to take some of the included brake lube. And we're just going to lube up on our hardware where we're going to have metal to metal contact. And then we can grab our pads and slide them into place. And then we can close up our caliper. Reinstall our bolt. And then take our 18mm wrench and 15mm socket and tighten both of these up. And then you can do that same thing for your other rear caliper and we'll get these on the car. So now we're ready to mount our new rotor. I've got this backwards on the hub first so that we can clean the inside and then we'll flip it around and get the outside. So I've got brake clean and a clean microfiber so I can spray this down and wipe it. So now we can install our new caliper. I'm going to spread our pads apart, slide that over the rotor. And then we can line up and thread in our bolts. Now we can grab our 18mm socket and tighten down our two bolts. Now we can connect our brake line to our caliper. So we're going to take our factory banjo bolt. We have two new crush washers in this kit. So we'll put one on and then slide it through the fitting and then put another one on the other side. Pop that little cap out of our threads and then thread this bolt into place. And then we'll grab a 13mm socket to tighten that down until that copper washer starts to crush to make your seal. And then we can remove our hose pliers from our brake line. And then you can repeat that same process on the other side. So now we're ready to bleed our brakes. Now you're going to want to start with the caliper that's furthest away from your brake master cylinder, which is going to be the passenger side rear, and then you'll move to the driver side rear, and then the passenger side front, and then the driver side front. So I've already done the passenger side rear, so we're on the driver rear now. we have our bleed nipple that we're gonna get a 10mm wrench on to crack it loose. And then I've also got this homemade brake bleeding device. It's a water bottle with some brake fluid in the bottom. I've got a hole drilled through the top to put a tube through, and a little hole here so that we don't build up pressure inside this bottle. So now I've got a buddy in the driver's seat. I'm gonna crack open the bleeder valve while he holds the brake pedal. So I'll get my wrench all set up. And then I'll get my tube on there as well. And now you can tell your buddy to hold the brakes. Just gonna press on the brake pedal and hold it. And then you can crack it open. You'll close it, and then you can tell your buddy to get off the brakes. And then you'll just repeat that process over and over until you have a solid stream of fluid coming out. So go ahead and press the brakes. Press the brakes. So now we have fluid coming out with a bunch of bubbles in there. So we're gonna have to keep going. Press the brakes. Press the brakes. Press the brakes. Press the brakes. And now we've got a solid stream of fluid, so I usually like to go one more after this. So one more time, press the brakes. And then that's all good. So you can take your hose off, remove your wrench, and then put that cap back on. And now you'll do that same thing for your other rear if you start on the passenger rear, and then we can move up to the front. So now we're moving up to our front calipers. Now, one thing to keep in mind is to make sure you check your master cylinder. Make sure you're not running that low on brake fluid. I would top that off after every brake that you bleed. So I've topped mine off. We're getting up to the front. So we're gonna pop the cap off of our bleeder valve and throw our wrench on there. And then grab the tube, put that over the end there. And then once again, with your buddy in the front seat, you can have him hit the brakes. And hit him again. Again. Now I've still got a lot of bubbles coming out of here, so do it again. And again. And again. Again. And one more time. And then once you have your solid stream, pop the hose off and your wrench. And then put the cap back on your bleeder. Now I'm just gonna throw the wrench on the bleeder. Just make sure we got that fully tightened up. And then you can do the other side front and wrap up the bleeding. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the PowerStop Z26 Street Warrior brake rotor, pad, and caliper kit for the front and rear of your 2012 to 20 Challenger GT, RT, Rally Redline, SXT, and TA with dual piston front calipers. Thank you for watching, and for all things Challenger, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.